Welcome back. This is Nick Agram. I will be discussing the quadratic function. A quadratic function is always in this form, as you can see here. Just this one. Always in that form. And as you can see, I express my function in f of x instead of y. Why? Because sooner or later you will be discussing functions, relations and functions, and the quadratic function is a function. That's why I am going to introduce this now, as early as now. In a quadratic function, a is not equal to 0. I will show you later why. Okay, and there are terminologies that we are going to see, or you're going to learn from this series of videos. And to start with, I'm going to give you this one, GeoGebra, to show you with my sliders here. I'm going to show you how this graph change when I'm going to change the value of a. So if I'm going to change the value of a, as you can see here, when it's a big number, it's not necessary that a positive or a negative, because if I'm going here also, if it's a big number, what's that? Big digits maybe. Then your graph will become narrower here. When it is a very small digit, a small number, both in positive and negative. Okay, maybe I can rephrase my, if in the positive side you have a small number, and it will be, then it opens wide. As a become bigger, then it become narrower. Okay, on the negative side, as you can see, when a is bigger, then it opens wider. As a becomes smaller, then it opens narrow. It will become narrower. Okay, that's a do. A also will give you the idea when it is open. When it is positive, it opens upwards. When it is negative, it opens downwards. I usually say to my students that when a is greater than 0, then it is happy. And when a is less than 0, then it is sad. Okay, I'll go back to my figure here, to my graph. Okay, and then what you can see here also, there are roots, but it's not always. As you can see here now, I have no roots. Root means that this graph crosses the x-axis, but right now it's not. Okay, here we do it. Okay, it's either that we only have one here, one root. That is what we call a repeated root or double root. Then we have only one root there. It can be 2 or nothing. This one is what we answered before as a no real solution. Okay, the C, what the C does, it only goes to the y-axis. It doesn't do much. It's always in the y-axis when x is equal to 0. Okay, the roots, I'm going to go back to the roots when y is equal to 0. Okay, when a is positive, as you can see here, then you have a lowest point here. It's called minimum point. But when a is negative, then you have a maximum point. And that point, it is always called vertex. So we have a maximum point that is also called vertex when A is negative, and we have a minimum point which is also called vertex when A is, did I say positive first? When A is negative, I should say, and then when A is negative. Okay, for the B, you can see that it changed from B, and it's only in the x-axis. Okay, yeah, and then I will continue here now. Here are the captions of the things that I told you. The zeros, we call them roots when y is equal to 0. So when my function is f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, when f of x or y is equal to 0, then we have only ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Then there are a lot of ways to solve this. Either you will solve this by finding the square roots. If you want to know how to do this, then go back to my videos. The other is by factoring. I have videos on this, and we have the completing the squares. And then we have the last one. No, not the last one. We have the quadratic formula. And then we have the graphing calculator. So if you have a graphing calculator, then you can use that also to find everything here. I will use my calculator later when I am solving quadratic functions. Okay, the thing that I want to tell you now is a quadratic function's graph is always a parabola. It looks like this. It can be narrower or wider. It can open upwards or downwards. And the thing that I want you to understand also is the axis of symmetry. It's always, when you have a vertex here and you have x and y as coordinates, the x is always the axis of symmetry. So if this is x is equal to if this is -1, then we have the axis of symmetry is -1. If you find how to find the vertex is just substitute the value of x in your function. Then you will get the value of y. Then you have a vertex, the coordinate of the vertex. The zeros here is always when y is equal to 0 or f of x is equal to 0. Okay, I think I do not have much more to say about this introduction of the quadratic function. In my next video, I will be discussing this table one by one. Sometimes it doesn't look like this all the time. This is the general quadratic function, but sometimes it looks like this, it looks like this, and it looks like this. So I'm going to go over them one by one, and then we will see how we can see their graph and how we can use them, how we can use these tools in order to find the vertex, the axis of symmetry, and your zeros or the roots. So see you next time on my next video, and I hope you learned something from this. See you around, guys.